Black Myth Wukong was easily one of the most anticipated games of 2024, and there's a lot of conversation, discussing whether or not Black Myth Wukong actually delivered on a lot of the hype that was promised. Today's video is going to be about why Black Myth Wukong delivered on all of that hype and even exceeded it, and how it is a massive, massive win for the gaming industry and gaming fans everywhere, even if you don't like Souls-like games. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, it is no secret that the gaming industry and, a ton of gaming developers out there are leaning towards making live service games, and honestly, the fans are really, really sick of it, okay? Black Myth Wukong shattered records, okay? This game had like 2.2 million players on Steam alone. That's not even going to count the Chinese platform WeGame, which this is a Chinese native game. The developers for this game are Chinese, so it was definitely massive over there, and it didn't even count PS5 players. This game shattered records on Steam, and it's actually pretty funny because 2 days later after this game came out, Concord actually released, and it released on a weekend. Black Myth Wukong came out on a Monday night, I think. Monday night is when it came out, and Concord came out on like a Friday, okay? And it is a big deal because, most games don't typically release on a Monday night and break records, okay? It just makes a ton of sense, right? Everyone's playing on the weekend. Concord was this massive live service game that was marketed by Sony. It was supposed to be like an Overwatch clone or whatever. Concord peaked at like 700 players on launch. It totally flopped. I mean, it's probably going to, send this entire IP, just put it in the trash. It's done for. It did not sell well at all. And that right there this week, with Concord releasing and Black Myth Wukong releasing, that right there sends a massive, massive, message to the higher ups and the head honchos in the gaming industry. And hopefully most game developers kind of get the point now that the gaming fans, we want single player games, bro. We don't want any more live service games that are ripoffs of Overwatch, CS:GO, whatever. We don't want hero shooters. We want single player narrative driven games that have original and fresh ideas. The developers for Black Myth Wukong absolutely deserve their flowers, because this was a really, really polished game the second it came out. I was playing it on release night. There were no bugs and glitches for me. The performance had a little bit of issues, but that's honestly okay because this is a very ambitious next-gen title, and honestly, it wasn't too bad. Overall, this is a really, really smooth and polished game, and it is really impressive because the developers for this game are relatively small. That is a big deal, bro, because you look at a game like Star Wars Outlaws, okay? I know most of you guys probably know all the drama with that game. I mean, that game has some terrible performance issues, and it's just not looking like a good game overall. And that's made by Ubisoft, like a multi-million-dollar company. You have a small development team releasing their first game here with Black Myth Wukong, and it's groundbreaking next-gen graphics. It's amazing performance. It brings fresh ideas. It's super creative. The art style is amazing. There's tons of content. You get what you pay for right up front. That is also very rare, these days. So I think the developers for Black Myth Wukong absolutely deserve all the praise that they are getting right now. Even if, you're one of the people that are saying that, there's too many Souls-like games. My counter argument to that is, this game is kind of Souls-like, sure, but it brings a lot of fresh and new ideas to make its own thing. It's not just a direct FromSoft ripoff, which I think is a big deal. And it's really more of like an action game. It's got tons of fun bosses. It's a good game overall. It's an amazing game overall. Right now, I think this is my game of the year for sure. So yeah, man, long story short, Black Myth Wukong, it's a pretty big deal this year for gaming, okay? This is a great game overall. You have an underdog studio on board. They produced an amazing game that delivered on all fronts, in my opinion. Now, let's go ahead and talk about why this game is really important for the gaming industry, and more specifically, it's important for gaming fans everywhere, even if you don't really necessarily like these types of games. So let's go ahead and go back to the Black Myth Wukong and Concord comparison, okay? Because I think it's really interesting, right? Let's go ahead and, preface this before we get into it. Obviously, Concord and Black Myth Wukong are literally different types of games, right? They are not the same types of games at all. They probably shouldn't even really be competing, but I think the comparison in player bases and sales is really important just for the gaming industry as a whole. And I want to start off by saying this: Concord, it's garbage, right? We all know this, it's garbage. But Concord isn't garbage for a lot of reasons you would call a video game garbage. Like, Concord is just uncool. It looks like a tech demo. Like, it just doesn't have any sauce or personality, right? Like that's literally what it feels like. But like the gameplay and the performance and the graphics and the art style, whatever, of Concord, it's not terrible. Like, it could be a successful game. Like, maybe if they made it into like a first person story game, people would have played it. But it's just the fact that it's another hero shooter live service game, that it didn't get any players, right? Because it's completely unoriginal. And that is really what I think the big difference in what companies think consumers want and what consumers want from companies, right? Consumers with video games, gamers, we all want creativity at the end of the day. The game could be live service, it could be a single player game, whatever, dude. We just want something different. We are so tired of all these other games copying each other. Like, that's why everyone loves Black Myth Wukong. I mean, there's some people out there saying that it's just another Souls game. I really digress. There's a ton of stuff here that's just insanely original and cool. But I think that is the determining factor of what is going to make games successful moving forward in the 2020s and just for in the future in general. Like, it's just creativity, man, because we're getting to a point with gaming where there's a lot of concepts that have been done, but there's also a ton of concepts that haven't been explored, like, at all. You have so much source material out there that you could adapt into cool video games. I mean, this Black Myth Wukong was made was based on like a book from, I think, like the 1400s. Like, that's really, really sick, man. And it just opens the door for so many other companies to create some really cool ideas. I'm so sick of seeing Star Wars games or like superhero. I like superhero games, don't get me wrong, like, it's cool, but like, I really want there to be new IPs and new things to explore, new concepts, because as we move forward into the next gen, the next gens of gaming, like, that's really what's going to make those generations special, is completely new ideas. Okay, that's why I think older generations were a lot better, right? Because you had a lot of revolutionary ideas. Look at the Xbox 360 and the PS3 era, for example. You had so many companies out here competing just based off the fact of original ideas. And you had Xbox 360 and Microsoft doing their Xbox Live stuff, and you had PS3 pushing their narrative story games. Like, I think that is what we're missing in this current generation. We're missing a lot of innovation, and the consumers are really letting developers know. Because, like I said, Concord isn't really a bad game. It has good graphics, it has decent gameplay. It's just nothing new. There's no innovation there. People have already experienced that with games like Overwatch. Like, why would we care? Plus, you're competing with free games. That's a whole other topic. But I think long story short, consumers, we want original ideas and original games and original IPs. Obviously, there are some games out there. I like superhero games, but I really do want developers to push new ideas and stuff, because that is really what makes each generation for gaming special, and that is what we are missing in this generation, is the creativity. And I think that this week a lot of companies are paying attention to what happened with Black Myth Wukong and what happened to Concord, and they're going to sit back and they're going to reassess their future plans. I'm calling it right now. A lot of people say that a lot of these companies aren't going to do that. I'm telling you right now, like, Ubisoft and EA are getting to a point where they really, no matter how big of a company they are, they can't keep getting away with, terrible releases and poor sales, because eventually they're just going to go out of business, man. And if you have underdog studios like Game Science releasing Black Myth Wukong, like massive games, it can only go on for so long, because at a certain point they're going to get dethroned. And that's really, really interesting to me, because I think moving forward, we're going to see either a lot of these underdog studios become juggernauts and overthrow EA or Ubisoft, or we're going to see EA and Ubisoft and all these massive companies with a bunch of resources deploy their resources and actually have their hand forced to make something good. Anyways, I think that's a good place to leave off the video. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like and a subscribe, and let me know what you guys are thinking of Black Myth Wukong. I understand if it's not for you, but I do think that this game is pretty big, for the gaming community just as a whole. Like I said, because more better games creates better competition, which leads to better products for consumers. And I'm just gonna leave it there. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like and a subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.